If Stalker 2 met my expectations and blew me away then, Stalker Shadows of Chernobyl exceeded them tenfold. I played the game in vanilla, and playing this game from start to finish was something I was really looking forward to, but nervous getting into. I mean, Shadow of Chernobyl came out in 2007, whereas Stalker 2 came out last year. So surely the level of detail there's gonna be a difference, right? Well, let me just tell you off the bat, there is a level of difference. And that is the game from 2007 has so much more detail than Stalker 2. Not to frown on Stalker 2 by any means, Stalker 2 is an incredible game. I loved everything about that game. But if that's an amazing game, then this, by far, exceeds even that. A game from 2007 blew me away and made me feel like I was playing a game that could have came out today. Bar graphics, granted, I'll get into that later on. But this game is absolutely incredible. You know what, I'm gonna have a bit more structure in this video than just gushing like last time, but let me just say, off the bat, I want to get into this. Upon starting the game, I immediately loaded up the PDA and I could see so much more stuff. So you've got your diary, you've got a top 20 ranking of stalkers that are actually in the world, and then statistics, which covers not only your achievements in the game, but also things such as like how many mutants you've killed, what stalkers you've killed alongside their ranks and how much they've trained. This game is absolutely incredible. That's the A life at work. Like, I knew the A life was going to be in this game where everything was going to be going on all at once and like there's characters doing whatever they want in this open world. I didn't realise how in-depth this went. This game is incredible. Just off the bat, when I saw that, I knew I was in for something special. Anyways, with the brief gushing out the way with, I still want to do this a bit more structured than just gushing about the game, as much as I would love to, trust me. But we're going to start off with gameplay. What games come to mind in 2007? I can think of Halo 3, Crisis, Bioshock, and COD 4. Obligatory shout out for All Gillied Up Mission, you know what that is? And whilst all of those are amazing games, seeing a game bordering on milsim combat and tactics, as well as having a pseudo RPG system in place, had me wondering why not many people talk about these games as some of the greats. I know it's got a cult following, but in terms of the big, broad game variety, there's not that many people talking about Stalker, and I wonder why. This game is incredible. Actually playing with the combat in this game, it's both fun and stressful at the same time. That leaves you with drawn out combat scenarios where you're fighting a group of bandits and you're just left on the edge of your seat the entire time. And this can go on for multiple minutes while you're trying to figure everything out and find out where they are, if they're going to be flanking you, and what weapons they have. And all of this is on top of the fact that you need to keep on top of your item condition, which I don't believe you can repair. I didn't come across any repair, so it really gives you that scavenging aspect where if you find another same gun as yours, the item condition's better, you're gonna want to pick that up and just drop your old one or sell it. And then you have the projectile system as well, which it's not a hit scan game, you know, everything's projectiles, which means if your weapon doesn't have the range, the bullets are going to veer off, but so does that go for the enemies as well. A lot of the time, you'll miss a lot of your bullets, and so will the enemies when you're missing your shots. That is perfectly fine, as you can utilise the cover very well, especially if you're going to be bleeding a lot when you get shot and you want to patch yourself up with bandages. But the same applies to enemies. There's been many times where I've tagged an enemy, shot an enemy, and I've been like, oh, I need to get up to him to finish him off, and I've approached him, and he's just flat out on the floor bleeding out, and I have to finish him off. It really adds to the environment, it really adds to the realism aspect of the combat of the game, and it feels so good in practice as well. It's not just good on paper, it's good in practice. Now, I played the game through on veteran difficulty, as I heard that's like the true Stalker experience, but it was only after I completed the game that I found out damage is affected globally depending on the difficulty. If you play on novice, you're going to be a lot harder to kill, but so are your enemies, making it more bullet spongy. So I'm really glad that I decided to play on veteran, especially with the realism aspect of everything. Like, if someone's unarmored on the head and you shoot them in the head, they're gonna drop, but the same goes for you. And I really like that ability within the game, as well as it really does give you a sense of intense fighting, because all it takes is one guy to flank you, it takes one guy to just catch you off guard, and you're dead before a bandit can say cheeky breeky if which is something you're going to hear a lot in this game, by the way. The bandit saying cheeky breeky if you'll hear that so often, and it's so funny, it never gets old. It's got to the point where I'm saying it like all the time now. It's crazy. Now, other than the human-on-human combat, there's also mutants that you get to fight, and I do believe that at one point in the game it kind of does become a bit too easy around the X-18 labs. I had to fight a pseudo-giant, and I took him down fairly quickly with the type of gun that I had. Like, it became very much of a pushover. Compare that to STALKER 2, where they're very bullet spongy. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of do have mixed feelings about STALKER 2's mutants being a bit bullet spongy, because it's like, I'd rather fight two weaker enemies and have my skill put to the test over one big meaty bullet sponge enemy. But this game, you take them down fairly quickly with the right guns, I'm not gonna lie. Now, the anomalies do work a little differently this time, in the sense that you don't have a scanner or anything, you do kind of just run up and pick them up, and you can find quite a lot of them around the map. I do know that that does change after this game, but it's very simplistic, and honestly I don't mind at all. They often give you different buffs, and the thing you do want to look out for is the health ones. There'll be a lot of them with like plus 400 health. They don't increase how much health you have, they increase health regeneration. So you want to be very careful with those, because I picked up a lot of them thinking, hey, I'm going to be a walking machine that can take so much damage. That's not the case. But now, with the gameplay out of the way, I do want to move on to talk about the graphics. Now, I'm not exactly a connoisseur when it comes to graphics. I play a lot of games ranging from Fallout 1 all the way up to modern day, and graphics have never really bothered me, but playing this game for the first time, realizing that this came out in 2007, this looks really good. At first you'd think, oh, it might just be what games do with the trick of the light to make it look better than it is. That's not the case. A lot of the textures look good to this day. A lot of the textures in this game still really hold up. Now, character models do put you back in that reality of, yeah, this is an old game. But it's never anything bad, it's never off-putting or anything, and overall, the game is beautiful, especially for the fact that it came out in 2007. Now, sometimes the animations can look a little jank at times, but it's never anything bad as well. Like, it's something that you just expect from a game from 2007. It's really good, it really holds up to this day, and honestly, I really enjoyed playing it. I was really surprised. I was happily surprised with it, honestly. And this is coming from a guy who doesn't really care that much about graphics in general. I've not really got much to say on graphics, so I did tie in atmosphere with it as well. And let me just show you the beginning of the X-18 labs when you first enter. If that atmosphere doesn't speak for itself, I don't know what does. Going from an open world on the surface, well, semi-open world on the surface, where you're walking around and you're coming across bandits, to all of a sudden you're in an area where you feel alone, or it seems you are alone, but you feel like you're being watched. And it does it so well. It basically turns into a horror game when you're in the X-18 lab for a while. And I was pleasantly surprised with that too. Just being put in your place like that, knowing, oh shit, I'm just a guy. Yeah, I might have a gun, I might have my wits about me, but I'm just some guy. It really sells it, especially when you get to the X-18 labs after fighting through a bunch of bandits to get there too. And then you have the Red Forest as well when you're first approaching the Monolith base in the Red Forest to get to the Brain Scorcher. It makes you feel like, in other games you'd feel like a one-man army, you know, the main character going in, but throughout this game you do often get humbled by not only the atmosphere but the in-game storytelling as well of the world, that nobody cares about you. The zone doesn't hate you, but it definitely doesn't want you there as well, and you've got to be on your tippy toes the entire time. You know, you can't afford to screw around. I screwed around a lot in this playthrough, and let me tell you, screwing around only gets you killed, and you have to reload a save over and over again. Which really leads me to my next point, which was going to be originally the story. But honestly, when it comes down to the story, things kind of just happen and you go around the map and you discover the area. It's not very story heavy, there are a few plot points and twists and turns that'll get you there, but they're very, very spoilery, and I want to avoid spoilers for anyone who's interested in playing these games for the first time, maybe trying to get into it and just watching a few videos to see if they'd like it. So instead of the story, I'm going to be talking about the factions. So at the start you have the Loners. These guys are just like you. They aren't particularly a faction, but are a group of like-minded people that are just in the zone trying to get by. You can find them anywhere throughout the zone, pretty much, and don't really impact the world in any major way. They're also the first people you come across in the rookie village where you start off after speaking with Sidorovich. And they're pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. You are a loner throughout the game, and you know, they don't really hold an allegiance to anyone in particular. They're just trying to get by. You might often find them trying to artifact hunt, or they're just around the map, you know, fighting back against bandits. Which leads me to the bandits. Bandits are much like the loners, but instead of looking for things to loot, they look for stalkers to loot, whether it's taking hostages, roadside robberies, or just the good old loot and shoot of the upstanding citizens of the zone. They're basically the cannon fodder enemies of the game, but I say cannon fodder, by that I just mean they're usually equipped with sword-offs and vipers, not much in terms of armour, and honestly, although I say that they're cannon fodder, you still don't want to be front-facing the barrel of their weapons if you're ever caught off guard. They will decimate you if you are caught unaware. And then next, we have Duty, the best faction by far. I love Duty for real. Like, I can't really say much about Duty because they're just incredible, okay? So they're the faction that believe that the expanding zone is evil and we as humanity must fight back against it. They're like a paramilitary group that rush into the zone and exact their almighty wrath upon it by, more often than not, just being mauled by mutant dogs as soon as they leave Rostock, I'm not gonna lie. But these are the coolest faction to me. I love Duty, especially when I first got introduced to them and this one guy was just like interrogating a bandit. I first entered the area and there was someone like on the floor like, no please don't hurt me, and I was like, oh shit, is that a bandit like fighting someone? I walk over, no, the bandit's the one being like bullied right there, and honestly they're incredible. But that leads me to the next faction, which is the polar opposite of Duty. However, I also think they're really, really cool, and that is Freedom. Freedom, like I said, is the polar opposite of Duty. They're the free thinkers, the weed enjoyers of the zone. You know, oh, we should just learn to coexist and love the zone, man. We're one and the same, man. Yeah, they're pretty cool. But Duty is still better, in my opinion. You know, in my humble opinion, they're better. And then we have military. Military, well, the military. You know, there's not really too much to say about them. They hate fun. That's the only thing I can describe. They hate fun. They don't want you in the zone. And if you're in the zone, they're just like, well, we're gonna have to deal with it, you know, like, we're not gonna be necessarily horrible towards them all, but we're gonna be horrible towards them all. They're often the ones found every time you leave a lab. They're the ones that are going into the lab after you've already cleared everything out. But speaking of labs, and speaking of infiltrating them, the next faction is Monolith. I can't say too much about Monolith in terms of the spoiler side of things, but I might just anyways, because at this point I think I've threw all structure of this video out the window. I'm just gushing about the game. But after only playing this game and Stalker 2, I have to say it's really saddening, sickening and disturbing with what they actually are. You know what, I'm just going to slightly drop the lore a bit. When the zone was first created, a group of scientists called Sea Consciousness created something called the Brain Scorcher, and it was to stop stalkers from getting close to Pripyat and the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, or CNPP for short. How does it stop them? Well, it fries their brains. You either become zombified and roam the zone, you know, like a zombie, or you become a member of Monolith, protecting the CNPP and something called the Wish Granter, forgetting basically everything about your past self. Monolith are the closest thing to the big bad of this game, And when you find out about who and what they are, it leaves you realizing how haunting of a fate it really is. I'm just gonna say it, Monolith being the big bad, well, kind of the big bad in the zone, especially for the end game, I love it. I love that faction, because like I said, it's very haunting, it's very impactful, and I love everything about it. It really leads you to believe in, this is it, I'm coming close to the end, you know? And speaking of the end, that leads me to a good segue of going over to the conclusion of the video, after I've just gushed about the game the entire time. So, let's start with the conclusion. Playing Stalker 2 for the first time at the end of the year was an incredible experience. It blew my expectations out of the water. I loved the game from beginning to end. And if Stalker 2 blew my expectations out of the water, then playing Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl for the first time this year, after almost 18 years of it being released, it blew my expectations out of the stratosphere. I loved every second of game time, and was taken back by it. It's definitely a game I see myself playing a lot more, and even playing around with mods, as the modding community is apparently still very active in the Stalker community. And I've still got 2 of the games left to play, which is Clear Sky, followed by Call of Pripyat, which I've heard Call of Pripyat is the fan favourite, so I'm really excited to get into that one. But next one is Clear Sky, and overall this game has been incredible. So that's both Stalker 2 and Shadow of Chernobyl I've now played, that have both been hits. I haven't seen a miss yet, they've both been incredible. If my gushing isn't enough to show how much I love these games, I don't know how else to show it, honestly. I've loved every second of them, and I'm surprised that I haven't played them before. Honestly, before Stalker 2, I didn't really hear much about the Stalker series in general. I heard it here and there, but not much, and it really surprises me that not many people talk about it. I know it has a cult following, and people who are dedicated and love the game will love to talk about it and express it, but I don't see too many people talking about the Stalker series as a whole. I don't know why, because these games are incredible. I know I keep going in circles right now saying about how good it is, but it really is. And if you don't believe me, I think, you know, it's on console now as well, so give the game a go. If you've been on the fence, you know, if you want to see for yourself, play the games. They're incredible. And that's all I really have to say when it comes to playing through Shadow of Chernobyl. There is a lot more that I wanted to kind of say, but I don't really know where to like fit it in, such as the story. I don't really want to delve into spoiler territory just yet. I'm planning on doing that maybe after I've finished Clear Sky and Call of Pripyat. So that is it for this video. I hope everyone that stuck around until the end enjoyed it, and me desperately trying not to gush about this game and spew out all my thoughts at once was quite difficult. If you liked this video and would like to see more, please like and subscribe, as I would love to grow a community around the games we love, no matter how big or small. If you have any thoughts about Stalker, any recommendations for mods, or any feedback as I learn and adapt to making videos, please let me know in the comments. Having all that said and done, thank you for all the support I've been shown over the past couple of weeks. I've only really just started making videos, so the fact that I've released 3 and I'm already up to almost 100 subscribers is insane to me. Thank you all so much for the support, it really does mean a lot. But having that said, I'm gonna go play some Stalker now. I shall see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!